Thank you for your interest in the New Jersey State Council on the Arts Individual Artist Fellowships. Before we get started, I do want to point out that we have ASL interpretation for today's presentation. Thank you to our captioner, Debbie, for joining us today. To pin Debbie, click the three dots in the top right corner of their video and select pin. Automated closed captioning is also available for this webinar. To display the captions, click the CC icon or live transcript button and then click show subtitles. My name is Jackie Dominis and I am a program associate fellowships at Mid-Atlantic Arts. Mid-Atlantic Arts administers the application submission, review, and post-award process on behalf of the New Jersey State Council of the Arts through an ongoing partnership. I'm also very happy to be joined today by Stephanie Nurbach from the New Jersey State Council of the Arts, as well as my colleague at Mid-Atlantic Arts, Kimberly Steinley-Super. This webinar is designed to help you better understand the Individual Artist Fellowships program and help guide you through the application process with Mid-Atlantic Arts SmartSimple application system. Today, we're going to review the eligibility and application requirements. Then Kim is going to pull up the application and will provide a demonstration about how to use the online system. We anticipate that the presentation portion of the webinar will last about an hour, and then we'll spend some time answering questions at the end. The webinar is intended to help applicants gain a better understanding of the program and its requirements, but is not intended as a substitution for the program guidelines, which are available in both English and Spanish on the New Jersey State Council on the Arts and Mid-Atlantic Arts websites. As I mentioned, Stephanie Nurbach will be one of my co-presenters for today. Before we begin the presentation, I just want to invite Stephanie to say a few words about the State Arts Council and the Individual Artist Fellowships program.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Stephanie Nurbach, and I am the Program Associate for Artist Services and Public Art at the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. I'm pleased to be here with our partners at Mid-Atlantic Arts to offer this application assistance webinar. I'd like to take just a moment to tell you a bit about the Council's support for artists. The New Jersey State Arts Council is proud of the wealth of diverse talent in our state and so happy to offer Artist Fellowship Awards each year. Typically, there are 3 cycles of this award program offering 4 to 5 disciplines per cycle, meaning your discipline may come around only every 3 years. But with the recent increase in the Council's investment in this program, we are able to shift to a 2-year cycle, offering 7 disciplines per application cycle. So artists can now apply more frequently. There are other ways in which the Council supports artists, including through the Public Arts Inclusion Program and the Folk and Traditional Arts programming made available every year. To learn more information on the Council's programs and services in support of arts and artists in New Jersey, I will put a link to our website in the chat so you can explore what else is there. Also, if you are not already on our mailing list, please consider adding yourself to the list that includes opportunities for the Field newsletter, which is our biweekly compilation of various calls for artists, professional development, and many other opportunities for artists and arts organizations, regardless of discipline. I'll put the latest issue of Opportunities for the Field in the chat, where you can also find a link to add yourself to the mailing list. Also, if you'd like to reach me directly, please feel free to do so by emailing me. I will put that in the chat. So I'd like to thank our partners at Mid-Atlantic Arts. They're super partners on this fellowship program, and we really commend their dedication and hard work and good nature, which helps make this program run so smoothly and effectively, providing stellar assistance to New Jersey's artists. We really could not ask for a better partner in this work. And on behalf of the entire council, I'd like to welcome all of you today and thank you for all you do to contribute to arts in New Jersey. Back to you guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Steph. Before we begin, we respectfully ask that you save your questions until the end. We will make sure that we get to everyone's questions at that time. I also want to note that we will be publicly posting a captioned recording of this webinar along with the transcript following today's presentation. And if you only need a refresher about how to navigate the new application system, we also have a 10-minute quick start tutorial video available on the Mid-Atlantic Arts website as well. Okay, so before we get into the specific eligibility requirements, I'd like to provide an overview of how this program works. Individual artist fellowships are awarded based on work that applicants have already created. In the application and program guidelines that we will be discussing today, you'll notice that you'll be asked to submit examples of your work from the past 4 years. In order to be eligible for the program, you must be able to submit work that falls within the parameters of one of the categories offered during the current round. The completed work samples that you submit in your application will be evaluated through a peer review panel process. And if you are recommended to receive a fellowship based on those evaluations, you will receive a cash award that is almost entirely unrestricted. What this means is that you can use that funding for almost any purpose which helps support you in your work. For example, you could apply in crafts and, if awarded, use that funding to help support a filmmaking or interdisciplinary project, or to help cover your rent so you have more time to focus on your artistic pursuits. Many people are familiar with project grants, where you submit a proposal and receive funding to execute a specific idea or concept that you would like to complete in the future. For the fellowships, however, you only need to submit eligible examples of your past work, even if you don't have a specific project in mind for the fellowship funding. Moreover, fellowship recipients have almost complete flexibility to use the funding in a way that works best for them. Individual artist fellowships are offered in a broad range of visual, literary, and performing arts categories. Different categories are offered each year, and as noted in the program guidelines, we actually switched from a 3-year to a 2-year category rotation schedule starting this year. This means that applicants will have the opportunity to apply to the fellowships more regularly. Categories offered for the 2023 award cycle will be choreography, crafts, music composition, photography, poetry, playwriting/screenwriting, and sculpture. Only applications in these categories will be accepted for the 2023 fellowships. You may submit one application in a single category per year. If your work doesn't fall under one of these categories, then we invite you to see the program guidelines for the full category rotation schedule and apply under the appropriate award category in a future program year. The application deadline for the 2022 individual artist fellowships will be 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, July 14th, 2022. Please be sure to plan ahead and contact us well in advance of the deadline if you need any assistance, and please also feel free to reach out to Mid-Atlantic Arts if you are experiencing any issues accessing the application or meeting this deadline as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Recipients are selected through a competitive evaluation process based on examples of their work submitted in the application. Fellowship applications are reviewed by independent panels of peer evaluators composed of artists and art professionals with expertise in the specific discipline they are reviewing. The recipients of individual artist fellowships are decided solely on artistic excellence as demonstrated by work samples submitted with the artist application. It's also important to note that applications are reviewed anonymously. Panelists will not have access to your information as they are reviewing the work. The anonymous review process helps ensure that panelists are not influenced by name recognition or the previous accomplishments, education, or employment of the applicant. There is no award quota per artistic discipline or style. Fellowships are awarded to those applicants who demonstrate the highest artistic excellence regardless of discipline. At the end of the evaluation process, State Arts Council staff combines all application scores across every discipline offered that year and creates a funding scenario that awards the top scoring applications. The amount of the award is determined annually by the State Arts Council from funding provided through the New Jersey Hotel Motel Tax. Fellowship awards have ranged in the past from $4,000 to $26,500. As I mentioned, fellowships are not project-based, so the funds are not earmarked for any specific purpose other than to help support the recipient. Artists may use fellowship awards to purchase supplies, participate in a workshop, rent studio space, or pay their mortgage, obtain childcare, or generally use the funding to free their time, among many other possibilities. The only limitations are that fellowship funds may not be used for travel out of the country, study as a matriculated student in either a graduate or undergraduate program, or purchase permanent equipment, which is equipment with a resale value exceeding $350 or having a lifespan over 3 years. To be considered eligible to apply for a fellowship, applicants must be artists, must be permanent residents of the state of New Jersey. The applicant must be a current permanent New Jersey resident at the time of application and at the time of award, which will take place in March 2023. This means that if the applicant moves out of the state after the application has been submitted, but prior to being awarded a grant, they are no longer considered eligible. Awarded fellows will be asked to supply 2 forms of verification: utility bills, driver's license or ID card, bank statements, voter registration, etc., with their name and home address. Artists must be age 18 or older, and the applicant must be the artist whose original artwork is represented in the submitted work samples. In addition to meeting applicant eligibility, all work samples submitted for consideration must meet a general set of eligibility criteria regardless of medium. These require that all work samples must have been produced within the eligible timeframe outlined by discipline in the program guidelines. Work completed while the applicant was a matriculated student in a graduate, undergraduate, or high school program is not considered eligible. Works in progress and project proposals are not considered eligible work samples. For the purposes of this program, complete is considered to be the point at which the work is ready for public presentation, unless otherwise noted in the program guidelines. As I mentioned previously, to help ensure that applications are reviewed solely on the artistic excellence of the work submitted and not on the previous accomplishments or identity of the artist, the New Jersey State Council of the Arts has made the application review process anonymous for the panelists. Accordingly, applicants may not include identifying or biographical information in their work samples, in the work sample files, or on the work sample page of the online application. Including information such as, but not limited to, the artist's name or signature, identifying initials or symbols, professional affiliations, and biographical information may render the application ineligible. If it is not possible for this type of identifying information to be edited out of the work sample, it cannot be submitted as part of the application. We also want you to keep in mind that there are specific technical requirements for work submitted to this program. These requirements help with consistency, but are also necessary to make sure the work samples submitted are compatible with the review software used by panelists. In almost every case, it is possible to convert whatever files you have available, but we urge you to plan ahead when preparing your work samples for submission. We also have an extensive work sample preparation guide available on the Mid-Atlantic Arts website, which includes links to free online conversion resources and answers to many frequently asked questions. For those of you who have applied with the e-grant system previously, you may notice that we are able to offer a little more flexibility with the new system, so please do revisit these requirements in the program guidelines. All applicants, regardless of discipline, will be given space in the application to address the following optional prompt. Is there any other information you want to provide for the panelists to help them better understand the work submitted in this application? The panel statement is at all times secondary to the work samples, but is intended to provide applicants with a space to convey non-biographical information to the panel that is key to the reception and full appreciation of the submitted work. Artists who choose to submit a statement for the panel should be aware that the response may not include any biographical or identifying information. Acceptable topics to address in the panel statement include any of the following: artistic interpretation or theoretical background of the work, your artistic philosophies as they relate to the submitted work, how you physically or conceptually produce your work, your creative habits or inspiration, if applicable, additional visual description in cases when work is not easily captured or is otherwise difficult to understand, any non-biographical information that helps the panelists situate your work samples within your larger body of work as an artist, if relevant, and you may discuss your cultural identity, such as race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, disability, or religion, if relevant for understanding your work. In the panel statement, you should not include your legal or artist name, contact information, including personal details, social media handles, and agent or media contacts, any biographical information that could be found in your CV or resume, including your exhibition, performance, or publication history, educational background, information about former or current employment, and details about awards, fellowships, grants, or residencies that you have received. Details about the exhibition, performance, or publication of the submitted work, any indication, hinted or overt, about the applicant's age, experience level, or where the applicant is in their career. For example, I've been practicing for 30 years, or after recently graduating. Links to external sources of any kind, such as a website or press interviews, direct appeals to the panel, information about what the funding would be used for should you receive an award, or your personal or financial circumstance. In addition to general work sample eligibility and technical specifications for work samples, each category has specific requirements for the work samples depending on the medium. We're going to quickly review what those are for each category, but again, please be sure to review the program guidelines before submitting an application. We also strongly encourage applicants to use the program guidelines as a checklist as they go through the application to make sure they are meeting all the requirements for their category. So starting with choreography. This category accepts choreography in all styles of dance, as well as other types of artistic performance with coordinated movement. The choreography requirements are a video demonstrating 1 to 2 examples of the applicant's original choreographic work must be uploaded into the online application. Applicants have the option to submit either 1 larger work sample or 2 shorter work samples. If submitting two work samples, each uploaded video file has a maximum time limit of 5 minutes and may not exceed 250 megabytes. If submitting 1 work sample, the uploaded video file has a maximum time limit of 10 minutes and may not exceed 500 megabytes. Each uploaded recording should represent 1 choreographed performance. If the performance being submitted is longer than 5 or 10 minutes, respectively, applicants may choose to either submit a portion of the full work or create a video of excerpts from throughout the performance in order to meet the time limit requirements. The choreography shown in the work sample must have been completed after July 14th, 2018. Only work choreographed by the applicant artist may be shown in the recording. Recordings of staged productions are not required. Works performed and recorded in a studio or other context are also acceptable. Do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. Applicants should also be prepared to supply the following information about each work sample in the online application: the title of the work, the length of the work, the month and year that the work was completed, and an optional panel statement if applicants who wish to include interpretation of the work or information about their creative process. You do have the option to submit a panel statement. The crafts category accepts work in all forms of functional and non-functional craft objects, including those made of ceramics, glass, wood, metal, fiber, textiles, and recycled materials. Applicants will be provided with space to upload 4 to 8 digital images or short video clips of their original work in the online application. Either an image or video file will be accepted for each upload. Video may be submitted as documentation for work which physically moves, operates, or is received by the viewer in a way that cannot be shown through images alone. Applicants may submit any combination of images and video that best represents their work within the space allotted in the application. Applicants may submit both image and video documentation of the same work. It is strongly recommended that at least 4 individual pieces of work are represented in your application if feasible. Do not submit more than 8 total examples of work. All work samples must have been created after July 14th, 2018, and do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. If submitting video as work sample documentation, each video clip must be no longer than 1 minute in length and no larger than 100 megabytes. Only 1 work sample should be documented in each video. Video may only provide documentation of the submitted work samples. Do not submit promotional videos, still images presented as a slideshow, interviews with the artist, or other commentary which provides interpretation of the work. Applicants should also be prepared to supply the following information about each work sample in the online application: title of the work, the medium, dimensions, month and year of completion. Applicants should describe the production techniques, materials, and technical processes related to the creation of the work samples in the technical information section on the online application. For example, elaboration about specific techniques used, how materials were applied, etc. Applicants who wish to include interpretation of the work or information about their creative process have the option to submit a panel statement. The music composition category accepts composition in all styles of classical, popular, jazz, hip hop, and folk music, noise and experimental sound, and original music composed for theater. 1 to 2 examples of the applicant's original compositional work must be uploaded into the online application. Applicants have the option to submit either 1 longer work sample or 2 shorter work samples. If submitting 2 work samples, each uploaded audio file has a maximum time limit of 5 minutes and may not exceed 250 megabytes. If submitting 1 work sample, the uploaded audio file has a maximum time limit of 10 minutes and may not exceed 500 megabytes. Each uploaded recording should represent 1 song or composition. If the song or composition being submitted is longer than 5 or 10 minutes, respectively, applicants may choose to either submit a portion of the full work or edit together excerpts from throughout the recording in order to meet the time limit requirements. All songs or compositions must have been completed after July 14th, 2018. Only work composed by the applicant artist may be heard in the recordings. Studio, live, and MIDI recordings of the song or composition are all considered eligible. Do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. Applicants are encouraged to upload a score, lead sheet, or other written notation for each uploaded song or composition in the online application for the panelist's reference. The score must be submitted as a PDF document. All pages of the score should be numbered, and the score must be fully legible, particularly if the document has been scanned. Additionally, applicants should be prepared to supply the following information about each song or composition in the online application: title of the work, length of the work, the month and year the work was completed. Applicants who wish to include interpretation of the work or information about their creative process have the option to submit a panel statement. The photography category accepts analog and digital photography, as well as works where photographic techniques are pivotal. 4 to 8 digital images of the applicant's original work must be uploaded into the online application. It is strongly recommended that at least 4 photographs or individual works are represented in your application if feasible. Do not submit more than 8 examples of your work. All work samples must have been completed after July 14th, 2018. For the purposes of this program, completed means the date on which the photograph took its final form. For example, date of capture for digital photography or date of processing for a photographic print. Do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. Applicants should be prepared to supply the following information about each work sample in the online application. Title of the work sample, medium, dimensions in feet or inches if applicable. Dimensions are not required for digital photography. Month and year of completion. Applicants should also describe the production techniques, materials, and technical processes related to the creation of the work samples in the technical information section of the online application. For example, elaboration about specific techniques used, processing details, type of camera used, etc. Applicants who wish to include interpretation of the work or information about their creative process have the option to submit a panel statement. All forms of written poetry are accepted in the poetry category. A manuscript of the applicant's original poetry must be uploaded into the online application. The manuscript must contain 5 to 15 pages of original poetry by the applicant artist. Each page may contain multiple poems depending on their length. Each poem must be clearly labeled with a title. All poems in the manuscript must have been created after July 14th, 2018. All work samples must be submitted in English. Authors may translate their own work into English if originally written in a different language. English translations of work by authors other than the applicant and translations of the applicant's work by someone other than the applicant are not permitted. Do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. The manuscript must be formatted according to the following specifications. Formatted for a standard 8.5 by 11 page size, 1-inch page margins. Text must be a standard, easy to read font such as Times New Roman, Calibri, or Arial in 11 or 12-point font size. Title pages may only serve as a table of contents for the submitted poems. Title pages will not be factored into the page count. Pages must be numbered, preferably in the lower right-hand corner of each page. There are no restrictions regarding line spacing. Single, double, and shaped spacing are acceptable as long as all other formatting and page length requirements are met. In cases where accompanying images are integral to the understanding of the written work, the applicant may include illustrations or images in their manuscript. Please note, however, that only the applicant's written work will be evaluated. The applicant must provide a photo credit or credits for the image in the manuscript, or note that the images were created by the applicant to protect their anonymity. Stock photos, clip art, and other images that identify the applicant or are intended to embellish the manuscript will not be accepted. Additionally, applicants should be prepared to supply the following information about the manuscript in the online application. The title, please use the name of the first submitted poem as the title of your manuscript. The length of the manuscript, number of pages submitted, minimum 5, maximum 15. The month and year the collection of poems was completed. Select the completion date of the most recent poem, noting that all poems in the manuscript, again, must have been created after July 14th, 2018. Applicants who wish to include interpretation of the work or information about their creative process have the option to submit a panel statement. The playwriting and screenwriting category accepts scripts written for stage or screen. One complete script must be uploaded into the online application. The uploaded script must have been completed after July 14th, 2018. Panelists will be asked to read at least the first 15 pages with the option to continue reading the remainder of the script. Scripts may be under 15 pages in length, but be no shorter than 5 pages. Adaptations or translations of other works are not permitted. All work samples must be submitted in English. Authors may translate their own work into English if originally written in a different language. English translations of work by authors other than the applicant and translations of the applicant's work by someone other than the applicant are not permitted. Do not submit works in progress. Outlines or individual acts of unfinished multi-act plays are not eligible. Do not submit work completed while the applicant was a student. The manuscript must be formatted according to the following specifications. Formatted for a standard 8.5 by 11 page size, 1-inch page margins. Text must be a standard, easy to read font in 11 or 12 point size. Title pages will be accepted but may only serve as a table of contents. Pages must be numbered, preferably in the lower right-hand corner of each page. There are no restrictions on line spacing. Single or double spacing are acceptable as long as all other formatting requirements are met. Pages must be numbered, preferably in the lower right-hand corner of each page. Scripts must be text only. Scripts may not contain images or illustrations. Applicants should be prepared to supply the following information about each work sample in the online application: the title of the work, the length of the script in pages, the month and year the script was completed, a short 2 to 3 sentence synopsis of the submitted script. Do not include information such as the location of staged performances or publication production details. Applicants who wish to include interpretation of the work or information about their creative process have the option to submit a panel statement. In the sculpture category, all forms of static and kinetic sculpture, as well as installations and 3-dimensional public art, are accepted. Applicants will be provided with space to upload 4 to 8 digital images or short video clips of their original work in the online application. Either an image or video file will be accepted for each upload. Video may be submitted as documentation for work which physically moves, operates, or is received by the viewer in a way that cannot be shown through images alone. Applicants may submit any combination of images and video that best represents their work within the space allotted in the application. Applicants may submit both image and video documentation of the same work. It is strongly recommended that at least 4 individual pieces of work are represented in your application if feasible. Do not submit more than 8 total examples of your work. All work samples must have been created after July 14th, 2018, and do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. If submitting video as work sample documentation, each video clip must be no longer than 1 minute in length and no larger than 100 megabytes. Only one work sample should be documented in each video. Video may only provide documentation of the submitted work samples. Do not submit promotional videos, still images presented as a slideshow, interviews with the artist, or other commentary which provides interpretation of the work. Applicants should also be prepared to supply the following information about each work sample in the online application: the title of the work sample, medium, dimensions, month and year of completion. Applicants should also describe the production techniques, materials, and technical processes related to the creation of the work samples in the technical information section of the online application. Applicants who wish to include interpretation of the work or information about their creative process have the option to submit a panel statement. Before I hand things over to my colleague Kim to provide a demo of the application, I want to reiterate a couple of important points about the work samples that you submit. Keep your work samples and your work information anonymous. Be sure to carefully review your work samples and the file properties for any identifying or biographical information and make sure that it has been removed. For the purposes of this program, identifying and biographical information includes your legal or artist name, contact information, including personal details such as email, address, phone number, etc., social media handles, and agent or media contacts. Any biographical information that could be found in your CV or resume, including your exhibition, performance, publication history, educational background, information about former or current employment, and details about awards, fellowships, grants, or residencies that you have received. Details about the exhibition, performance, or publication of the submitted work. Any indication, hinted or overt, about the applicant's age, experience level, or where the applicant is in their career. Your work samples should be completed work. Do not submit project proposals or works in progress. Only submit your original work, collaborative work, or any work over which you did not have sole creative control is considered ineligible. If you have recently completed a course of study, make sure you are not submitting work you created while you were a student. Okay, so now that we have reviewed the eligibility requirements, I'm just going to switch views here, and my colleague Kim will give you a demonstration of how to fill out the online application.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Okay, so I'm going to be providing a quick demonstration about how to use the online SmartSimple application. So the direct URL to the online application is midatlanticarts.smartsimple.com. So the first thing I want to do, just open your internet browser and simply type that URL into the bar at the top of the page here. And you can also simply follow the link that's provided in the program guidelines or in the Mid-Atlantic Arts website as well. You must have a SmartSimple account and be logged in order to access the application. If you have an existing account but you can't remember your information, just click the Forgot Password link below the login fields to regain access to your account. A link where you can reset your password will be sent to the email associated with your account if you use that feature. And keep in mind that this is only the second year that we have been using this system. So unless you applied to the fellowships last summer or for another opportunity at Mid-Atlantic Arts as an individual artist in the past year, you will most likely need to create a new account. If you have applied for an organizational grant through the Mid-Atlantic Arts SmartSimple system in the past year, you are also going to need to create a new account as an individual artist. So to create your account, click the Register button under the login fields to get started. Applicants for the Individual Artist Fellowship Program must register as individual artists in order to have access to the New Jersey Fellowships application. So select Individual Artist to continue. On the next page, enter your information and provide an email address for your account. So we strongly recommend registering your individual artist account with a personal email address rather than a business email. So this is especially important if your business email is associated with an organization that may apply for grant funding through Mid-Atlantic Arts in the future. So I've already registered for today's demonstration, but once you complete this page, you'll want to submit your registration. And you'll receive an email from SmartSimple prompting you to log in and set your account password. The link in the email will take you back to the SmartSimple website where you can set your password to finish activating your account. After you set your password, you'll be directed back to the login page where you can enter your the credentials for the account you just created. And again, just for demonstration purposes, I've already registered, so I'm just going to return back to the main login page and enter my login and password information. So once you're logged in, you're going to be directed to a landing page, and that's going to list all of the account options and grant opportunities that are available to individual artists. So from this page, you can update your profile information or change your password. You can start a new application, access your in-progress application, or you can check the status of a submitted application. So to access the fellowship application, you want to click on Funding Opportunities under the Available Applications. So the next page is going to display any opportunities that are currently open to individual artists at Mid-Atlantic Arts. Other grant applications may also be listed on this page. Click the Apply Now button under the New Jersey State Council on the Arts Individual Artist Fellowship opportunity to start your application. So again, for demonstration purposes, I've already started my application, so I'm just going to return back to the login page. And I'm going to click on my in progress application, and then I'm going to click Open. And this is actually how you can access an application which you have started but not yet completed. So it's important to note that when you initially create your application, you must click the Save Draft button at the bottom of the page to save a copy of the application draft to your account. So you must click the Save Draft button in order to have access to all of the necessary fields. The application itself is divided into 3 tabs. So there's applicant information, work samples, and consent. Navigating between these 3 sections is very simple. You can either click the tabs, or you can also click the Next and Back buttons at the bottom of the page. So the first section of the application is for applicant information. So nothing on this tab is going to be shared with panelists, so you don't need to worry about including your personal information here. On the applicant information tab, the first thing you'll be prompted to select is a category to which you're applying. And again, as a reminder, you may only submit 1 application in a single category per year. So some of the information that you provided when you were registering for your SmartSimple account is going to automatically carry over into this tab of the application. So you're going to see that some of your information is pre-populated under this profile information header. So just review this information, and if you need to make any edits, you can click here to edit your account profile information. And this is going to, your account information is going to pop up in a new window or tab, and that can just be closed as soon as you have completed making changes to your profile information. So just to provide a demonstration here, I'll make a change, save my application, and then close this. And once you save the changes in your account profile, you want to save the application draft to update your profile information section. I also want to note that wherever you see this little red asterisk, that means that the field is required. So you will need to provide information in all of those fields before the system is going to allow you to submit. On the lower half of the page, you will provide your artist or publicity name if applicable. And as noted, this is basically just the name you prefer to use when being publicly addressed as an artist. So we provide this information to the State Arts Council for announcements should you receive a fellowship. You'll also be required to provide the county in which you reside. The application also asks for any previous New Jersey State Council on the Arts individual artist fellowships. You may have 1. And if you indicate that you have received a fellowship in the past, you will be asked to share the year and discipline as well. All applicants must submit a resume biography. So you should use this space to describe your educational background, professional achievements. And again, this is used for administrative purposes. It's not going to be seen by the panelists, so don't worry about anonymity here. Either narrative biography or your CV is perfectly fine. And this is actually a rich text field, so you'll be able to edit and format that information in the application as well. There is a 2,000 word limit on this field. And also please note that you can either copy and paste or type directly into this field, but you cannot upload a document here. And then finally, the New Jersey State Council on the Arts also collects some optional demographic information that provides the council with important data about the communities they serve. So this information is used for analytical purposes only. It's not going to be, seen by the panelists or otherwise inform the selection process. So before we begin discussing the Work Samples tab, it's important to understand how the application works in order to ensure that you are supplying the correct information. So the category that the applicant selects here on the applicant profile tab is going to determine what specific work sample information they are required to provide on the Work Samples tab of the application. So some of you might know this as conditional formatting, but basically it just allows applicants to see the information that is relevant for them, depending on the category they're applying to. So because we are offering 7 categories this year, and they each look a little bit different, depending on those category specific requirements that Jackie just reviewed for us, I am going to demonstrate how to generally upload your work samples and complete the next tab of the application. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate by selecting crafts. And when I click over to the Work Samples tab, after I've selected crafts as my category, the Work Samples tab is going to provide some instructions for submitting in the crafts category. So again, keep in mind that this is going to look a little bit different depending on the category to which you are applying. I want to remind everyone again that anonymity is really a cornerstone of the fellowships program, so it is extremely important that you remove any identifying or biographical information from anything that is included in this Work Samples tab, excuse me, of the application. As a general rule, anything that could be listed in your resume, like Jackie mentioned, should be omitted from this section of the application. So moving down the page, the first requirement will be a work sample file upload. So categories that collect image, audio, and video work samples use a media library function, and that's going to allow you to upload multiple files into your application at once. So once you click the upload button, you'll see the types of files that are allowed. So in this case, it's image and video files, the max file size limit, as well as the maximum number of files that can be uploaded. So you want to click the Browse button to locate the files on your computer, select the desired files, and then click Open. So I've selected 2 image files and a video file for this application. And the upload speed will just depend on your personal internet connection, as well as the size of the files that you are uploading. And then once your work sample files are uploaded, you can close this window. And your work samples are now going to be added to your media library. So you can preview the images by clicking on the thumbnails. And if you are submitting video or audio files as part of your category requirements, please note that the upload may take several minutes to process for preview, just depending on the length and size of that file. But once they have processed, you should be able to play those back for review before you submit your application. The application is also going to collect specific information about each work sample upload. So to edit this information in the media library, click the Edit Metadata, complete the fields as prompted, and then click Save. So at the top of the Edit Metadata window, this is just some basic information about the file. You don't need to worry about this. But under work sample information, you'll be prompted to include some additional details about that work sample. So for the crafts category here, we are being prompted to fill out the title of the work, the medium, the dimensions in height, width, and depth, the dimension unit of measurement in either inches or feet, date of completion, and as you can see here, this is actually a drop-down where every date listed is eligible. So if you don't see the date for your work, you will need to select a different work sample. and finally, technical information. So again, information that's collected in the metadata field is going to look a little bit different depending on your category. But once you've entered that metadata information for the work sample, click the Save button at the bottom of the window. And then when you go back to this main page here, you click the Save Draft button to ensure that the information you just entered in the metadata section is reflected in the application. Please note that if you are applying in one of the literary categories, so either poetry or playwriting, screenwriting this year, you will have just a simple file upload field and will enter the information about your work sample into the form as prompted. You will not need to click an edit metadata button. So don't worry about that. You're not missing anything. The form is just organized a little bit differently for categories that accept work sample documents, or excuse me, PDF documents. So below the section where you uploaded your work samples, all applicants will have the option, again, to submit their panel statement. Now, as a reminder, your panel statement is limited to 250 words. And then at the bottom of the work samples tab, you will also be asked 2 questions that are really just intended to help verify that you have completed all of the necessary fields and that the information submitted in this tab of the application is anonymous. So after applicants have uploaded their work samples, they've filled in all the related information for their respective categories. All applicants will be required to provide their consent to the terms and conditions of the New Jersey State Council on the Arts Individual Artist Fellowship Program. So on this last tab of the application, you'll need to review the information provided and then click I have read and agree to the statements listed above. You must click this checkbox in order to submit your application. Applicants who do not agree to the terms and conditions are not considered eligible and are not going to be allowed to submit their applications. So if you have a question or you need technical assistance as you're completing your application, click the Notes tab on the left-hand side of the page, and then you can add a new note by clicking the button with the plus sign. Write your message to Mid-Atlantic Arts and then click Save and to send a copy to staff. When we respond, you will be notified by email, and our message is also going to be saved in this page alongside your application in the system for easy reference. So click the Main tab to return to your application. Finally, when you're all set, you've reviewed everything carefully, you're ready to submit, you can click the Submit button at the bottom of the page. So if you've missed a required field or if other errors are found, you're going to see a red error box at the top of the page and should make the appropriate corrections. So as you can see here, I have quite a bit of missing information in my application, and I'm not going to go back and fill in everything today, but you may see a few of these reminders if you haven't filled in all of the required fields. If everything is verified, the application will confirm that you are ready to submit, and you may complete the submission process. Once the application has been submitted, you will no longer be able to make changes, so please do review the information carefully prior to submission. And if you are unsure of any of the eligibility requirements, please review the program guidelines and contact Mid-Atlantic Arts prior to submitting your application. After you have successfully submitted your application, you're going to receive a confirmation message in SmartSimple, as well as an automatically generated confirmation email with a copy of your application attached. So no further actions are required at that point. It may take several minutes for your confirmation email to be sent after submission. So please also be sure to check your junk folder as well if that doesn't seem to be coming through. Finally, I will note that submitting your application means that you have filled in all of the required information and provided the correct work sample file types, but it does not necessarily mean that you have met all eligibility and technical requirements. We do try to provide some reminders throughout the application, but it is ultimately up to the applicant to make sure they are following the guidelines. So before we wrap up this demonstration, another thing I'd like to reiterate, you do not need to complete the application all at once. So applicants can fill out a portion of the application and log back in at a later time, and that information is going to be saved there for you. You can also access but not edit your submitted application from the home page, which is the landing page where you first arrived once you logged in. So just to demonstrate, I am going to save my draft here. And then I'm going to return to the home page. And under my applications, you'll see I have one application draft in progress. And after my application has been submitted, it's going to be moved to the submitted folder and can also be accessed there. After the fellowships have been awarded and notifications have been sent, you will also be able to see that fellowship, that information under the approved decline section. And so with that, I will hand it back over to Jackie.
All right, let me get back on our PowerPoint. Okay, thank you, Kim. So as I mentioned earlier, Mid-Atlantic Arts administers the application submission and review on behalf of the New Jersey State Council of the Arts through an ongoing partnership, and we are here to help you through the application process. Please feel free to be in touch. Questions regarding the program guidelines, application process, or other technical issues should be directed to me. And again, my name is Jackie Dominis, and I'm a Program Associate Fellowships at Mid-Atlantic Arts. The best way to reach a Mid-Atlantic Arts staff member is by email, which is on the slide. It's fellowships@midatlanticarts.org, or you can also reach us by phone at 410-539-6656, extension 101. Assistance will only be available during regular business hours and until 5 p.m. on the day of the deadline. Mid-Atlantic Arts offices are also closed on federal holidays. I do want to mention that applicants receive assistance from Mid-Atlantic Arts staff on a first-come, first-served basis, and should be aware that demand increases significantly shortly before the deadline, so please be in touch as early in the application process as possible if you need assistance to make sure that we can get back to you in a timely fashion. Yeah, so again, thank you all for watching this presentation and for your interest in the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, individual artist fellowships. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions, and that is all we have. So have a wonderful day, and thank you to our ASL interpreters.